Good day everyone, I am Seminarian Ivan from the Sons of Holy Mary Immaculate, and today we are going to discuss some sections in philosophical investigations of Wittgenstein, specifically the sections from 243 to 304. In this presentation, I would like to present my understanding about the sections and its repercussions and implications in understanding religious experience in the world today. Before we discuss the sections from 243 to 304, we will discuss first the background of philosophical investigation. After Wittgenstein published Tractatus in 1921, he felt that he had solved all the problems of philosophy, and as a result, he left the field. But there are realizations that propelled Wittgenstein back into philosophy. According to Corrigan, the problem of Tractatus that led Wittgenstein in the realization of the problem is the idea that there must be absolutely simple objects to which words correspond, but it is confused. If the notion of absolutely simple objects is confused, then the central idea of the picture theory of meaning, holding that there exist words that are absolutely semantically simple, is equally confused. Philosophical investigations is in many ways a criticism to the Tractatus and may be best understood in contrast with it. In philosophical investigations, Wittgenstein is directing us to resist the desire to construct a general theory of language or to search for a general form of language, but he instructs us to find the meaning of the word by looking to its use. Wittgenstein points us that there is a multiplicity on the ways in which language is actually used within the context of human life and social activities. At this point, Wittgenstein draws an analogy between language and games. If language is a game, it is rule-governed. Rules of the game makes the meaning of a thing. Let's say, for example, a ruler. A ruler used to measure and to draw a line, and sometimes we use it to scratch our itchy backs. In Tractatus, there is only one general logical form for everything, but in philosophical investigations, the meaning of the thing depends to the grammar of language or rules of the game. Thus, there is no one game in using the words, because there is multiplicity in the usage of language depending to the language rules. Here, the term language game is meant to bring into prominence the fact that the speaking of language is part of an activity or of a form of life. However, we must describe the activity or form of life in which the term is used in order to properly make sense of this usage. So much to the background. Now, we will discuss the sections from 243 to 304. On these sections, Wittgenstein discussed the private language. To begin with, language is a means of communication that must have agreement in definitions and judgments. Meaning, language is a medium for communication that is public and shared by everyone, and there must be an agreement in definition and judgment. But a private language is a language associated to the inner experience of human being, like his feelings, moods, and etc. According to Wittgenstein, sensations are private. It is took in Philosophical Investigation, section 248. Consequently, all our sense experience are private in nature. Let's say pain. When we feel pain, we know that we feel pain, and sometimes we say that another person can't have this pain. But the emphatic stressing of the word this does not define a criterion of identity. Rather, what the emphasis does is to suggest the case in which we are conversant with such criterion of identity, but have to be reminded of it. Let's say John experienced pain because his father died. Charlie can empathically understand the pain of John because he also experienced to lose his father. It makes sense to say that they have experienced same pain, but Charlie cannot know the certainty of the pain John experiencing because we can say that John is very close to his father while Charlie is not. Consequently, the pain experience of both John and Charlie is not identical. But nonetheless, another person can understand our private experience, but he cannot be certain. In this case, private experience is not at all a private one. But let's say that we didn't have any natural expression for the sensation. Wittgenstein claimed that in this case, we simply associate names with sensations and use these names in descriptions. It is said in Philosophical Investigation 256. Wittgenstein set an example. Let us assume of a genius child who invents a name for his sensation, but then, of course, he couldn't make himself understood when he used the word. When one says he gave name to his sensation, one forgets that a great deal of stage setting in the language is presupposed if the mere act of naming is to make sense. This means that when we name a pain experience, what is presupposed is the existence of the grammar of the word pain, the rules of game associated with the term pain. Thus, we can only understand our private experience when we understand the rules of the game set of the form of life, a set that agreed upon by everyone. Now, what is religious experience? Religious experience can be characterized generally as experiences that seem to be to the person, having them to be of some objective reality and to have some religious imports. In other words, religious experience is an experience in objective reality that has divine or spiritual coloring. Let's say the experience of conversion of Jean Valjean from the story of Les Miserables. Jean Valjean was a convict, but through the good works of the Monsignor, and by calling him a brother, he felt the love of God which resulted to his conversion. Sometimes we associate this experience as personal, a private experience. Some people may claim that other people cannot have this experience, but similar to the pain experience we discussed earlier, other people can understand our personal religious experience, but they cannot be certain of it. Thus, the repercussion or the implication of Wittgenstein in understanding religious experiences as sometimes associated as private is not at all private, because to understand religious experience, one should know the rules of the language game of religion in order to know the experience. Back to the example, before the conversion of Jean Valjean, The Monsignor showed good works by inviting him to come in, but he was not able to understand the grammar showed by the Monsignor and still the silver. Late before he understood that the Monsignor uses a grammar of religion, when he realized the grammar of religion, he fully understands his experiences with the Monsignor, that it's manifest God's love that resulted to his conversion. Finally, I would like to acknowledge Almond's interpretation to the section that religious discourse is a fact-stating discourse. By this, we can understand that the religious experience in the world today, that these experiences are fact-stating discourse because it follows the rule of the game set by the religion. And that concludes our discussion. Thank you for watching.